Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. This is me, Dr. Shweta. Today we are diving into the fascinating world of structuralism. We'll explore what structuralism is, where it comes from, and why it's important for understanding literature and culture. So let's begin. What is structuralism? Structuralism, simply put, is the study of how parts combine to form a whole. Think of it as a puzzle. Each piece or unit has a particular place and function, and only when you put all the pieces together do you see the full picture. In literature, this means looking at things like words, sounds, images, or even entire genres as parts of a structured system that creates meanings. For example, a poem, a novel, or a drama are also a part of a larger structure called literature. Now let us see what are the roots of structuralism. From where did structuralism arise? Structuralism arose as a response to previous methods like new criticism, which focused only on the text itself. While new critics concentrated on close reading and the autotelic nature of texts, that is, texts that stand on their own, structuralism was a step further. The journey begins with the work of Ferdinand de Saussure, a Swiss linguist who transformed how we think about language. Saussure taught us two essential points: langue versus parole. Langue is the underlying system or rules of language, much like the structure of a game, whereas parole is how these rules are used in everyday speech. For example, the grammar is the langue and the English language is the parole. So what is the relation between the two? Words only have meaning because of their differences from other words. For example, you know what cat means because it isn't bat or hat. This idea of difference creates a system, a kind of grammar of meaning for language. Now let us jump from Saussure to the Russian formalism and let's see the connection between these two. Saussure's ideas soon influenced other thinkers. In Russia, the formalists took this insight and applied them to literature. They believed that in texts, especially in poetry, there was a special literariness achieved by using ordinary language in a very extraordinary way. One famous idea here is defamiliarization. That is a technique that makes the familiar, simple looking things appear extraordinary in a new light. For example, a poet might compare the movement of cars to the crawling of insects to make you notice everyday traffic in a very fresh, a very surprising way. So the movement of traffic is compared to the crawling of cars like the insects. So that is making something ordinary appear in a very extraordinary way. Then comes the Prague school and Roman Jakobson. Figures like Roman Jakobson expanded on these ideas. Jakobson introduced the concept of metaphor and metonymy. Metaphor works by comparing two different things, like saying traffic crawls because the slow movement of insects help us understand the pace, whereas metonymy substitutes a part for the whole. For example, saying the White House when you mean the US president or his policies. For example, we say the White House laid down the rules. So it means the building hasn't laid down the rules, but the president of the US who resides in the White House, who controls the White House, has laid down certain rules or made some policies. So by combining selection and combination of words, poets and writers create layers of meanings that give literature its richness, its beauty. Now, what about the structure in narratives and films? Structuralism isn't just for poetry. It extends to stories, to films, and even cultural phenomena like myths or folk tales. Think about your favorite fairy tale. According to Vladimir Prop, all folk tales share certain character types, like the hero, the villain, and the helper, and follow a set of series or events. These predictable patterns help us make sense of the narrative, showing that even stories have an underlying grammar or an underlying rule or lang. Structuralism gave birth to semiotics, or we can say the study of signs. In this approach, a sign is made up of a signifier or the word or the image. A signifier can be any word or any image, and the signified, the concept or object to which that word or image represents. For example, a red traffic light doesn't physically stop you over time, but through convention it comes to mean stop. Similarly, in language, words work not by having an inherent meaning, but because they differ from each other within the system. Now let's talk about Bakhtin and the dialogic novel, which is also a product of structuralism. Another major voice in our discussion is the Russian philosopher Mikhail Bakhtin. Although his work goes beyond structuralism, he shares the idea that language is deeply social and dialogic, meaning it's always in conversation with other voices. Dialogism tells us that every utterance is shaped by the voices of others, even if they are only imagined. Now, he also gives us a concept of heteroglossia, which further shows that in a novel, multiple voices and languages they coexist. For instance, in a Dostoevsky novel, you might hear the rich language of both the upper class and the common people. So a novel is a mix of multiple voices and not only the voice of the narrator or the central character, but the minor character, the women character, or the different social classes too have their voices in a particular novel. Finally, Bakhtin's concept of the carnival highlights moments when established social norms are inverted. With the concept of carnival, Bakhtin means to say that the established social norms are inverted or reversed in the narratives. Or let's say, for example, in any novel, a carnival is a time when traditional rules are turned upside down, allowing for humor, bodily expression, and resistance against authority. For example, Margaret Atwood's novel, The Edible Woman, is a novel where bodily expressions are taken into consideration. Think of how some modern authors like Salman Rushdie use playful narratives to challenge serious themes through their novels, through their writings. Now, what are some key takeaways from this discussion of structuralism? Let's wrap up with a very quick summary so that you can understand structuralism in a nutshell. Structuralism examines how the parts of a text, words, sounds, symbols, they work together to create a meaning. Saussure's linguistic theories laid the foundation, emphasizing the system of difference, that a word is understood in difference to other words. Russian formalism and the Prague school further applied these ideas to literature, focusing on defamiliarization and the creative uses of language. Semiotics brought in the study of science, helping us to see how meaning is constructed by cultural conventions. And Bakhtin's ideas remind us that language is always in dialogue, whether through the competing voices in a novel or the disruptive energy of a carnival. By understanding structuralism, we learn to see beyond the surface of the text and appreciate the deeper systems at work. These ideas not only revolutionized literary studies, but continue to influence how we read and interpret the world around us. Thanks for watching. I hope this breakdown helped clarify the major points of structuralism. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and click the bell icon for more deep dives into literary theory. And if you have questions or would like further explanations on any topic, drop a comment below. I would love to hear from you. This is Dr. Shweta signing off. See you in the next video.